If you are a college student at literally any level, or hell, even if you have a friend that's a college student, or you're a high school student, or whatever the case might be, I am almost positive you at one point or another have heard or experienced a nightmare of an academic advisor. You know, somebody that tells you to take too many classes, or somebody that tells you to not take enough classes, or, you know, somebody that delays your graduation by 3 years and costs you thousands of dollars. And if you are a college student or a former college student, I'm sure you yourself have experienced the hell that is trying to get an appointment with an academic advisor and being unable to, or having to do this, that, and the third, and pretty much putting your future in the hands of somebody that gets paid $40,000 a year and has no idea how to help your specific situation. My name is Arthur Ridley, and today we're going to be talking about why that is. Just for a little bit about me, I am a master's student at the University of Houston, so I like to think I kind of have a resemblance of an idea of what I'm talking about. Originally in my life, I didn't start off being the greatest student in the world, but you know, at one point or another I turned it around and I learned to fall in love with academics, and I got really familiar with the economics program here, which is what I study. So much so to where I started picking out my classes for my friends and advising them on what to do, and figuring out, you know, for my friends that don't like their majors, or my friends that did, you know, what was working and not working for them. And so through that experience, I've kind of got a foundation of what makes certain people tick academically. And unfortunately, I've found that the people whose job this actually is don't really have that kind of innate sense oftentimes of what a college student actually needs to be successful in their academic journey. And so, like I said, today, or tonight rather, or whenever you're watching this, we're going to talk about why that is and why that happens, and why it's not even necessarily the fault of the guy that told you the wrong information that, you know, set your graduation back 55 years or whatever it was. Why it's not even entirely his fault, and much so it's academic advising is more so a problem that starts up here and finishes down here. And in case you haven't realized, you're the guy that's down here. Now, like I said, back in my undergraduate years, I kind of learned very quickly that getting even an appointment sometimes took weeks of planning in advance. And if something come up where I couldn't make that 30-minute window, because, you know, I am a busy college student with a job and semi-important social obligations. If for whatever reason I couldn't make that, it might take weeks, sometimes even months into the future to get another appointment. Sometimes the website didn't even work. Sometimes I couldn't even find my advisors because the turnover was that high. So I learned pretty quickly that I needed to be in control of my academic future. So, you know, I went on Google and I found my degree map, and I made a whole little plan for the next 3 years or whatever it was at this point, of all the classes that I need to graduate and stuff that, you know, I wanted to take. And I had a pretty good idea of what my GPA was at any given time, and really all that type of stuff. In general, I didn't even like taking academic advising appointments by this time. And I preferred not to, because I thought it was kind of a waste of time. But this one semester, I had a single super specific question that I needed answered. I don't even remember what the question was. All I remember is that I needed to talk to an advisor, and of course the only appointment was 3 weeks out, but nevertheless, I needed to talk to an advisor, and I needed to get this super specific question answered that I couldn't find on Google and that varied from department to department. So I unfortunately set up a appointment. Now, at the time, before learning all the information that I'm about to share with you guys in this video, I was also fairly interested in working in academic administration or advising or really anything like that. Like I said, I got off to kind of a rocky start in college, and I learned to fall in love with learning, and I wanted to help people also kind of culminate that love. And I wanted to help people figure that stuff out, because whenever I came into college, I had no idea what the heck was going on. And I struggled a lot. And it was something that I thought, wow, if I could help other people avoid what I went through and get paid for it, that would be, pretty awesome. And then I Googled how much they made. I'm getting off track. That is not relevant to this story. So basically, I'm going to this dude's office and I finally get my advising appointment and, I go in to talk to him. And because I was interested in what kind of advisors did, like not on the surface level, and because I was interested in working in advising, I kind of turned this appointment into almost like an interview of sorts, where I kind of already knew everything that he could have possibly answered. I knew when I was graduating, I knew what my GPA was, I knew which classes I wanted to take, and so I began asking him what his background is and how did he get into this field and how did he get this job and why did he go into it and et cetera, et cetera. And just for context, this guy was a fairly new advisor. He had maybe only been there for a few months, and as you'll learn, that's not atypical for academic advisors. And unfortunately, as I was talking to this guy, I became a little bit appalled, where the things he was telling me was almost a little bit scary. So this guy's entire job is to tell me which classes I need to take. I learned this guy was actually not an economics student at all. He was a Master of Philosophy student at a completely different university, with a completely different program, and he didn't know the first thing about economics or the electives. He didn't know the professors. He didn't know anything about our specific program that I was interested in. And that frightened me. And so after this, I wanted to kind of know if this was normal, if, somebody that doesn't even study the things that you studied is allowed to tell you what to do for your academic journey. And then, naturally, I looked it up. And I learned that most academic advisors actually don't even study the major that they advise, nor do they have any plans of even going into this field. According to Indeed here, the average salary for an academic advisor hovers somewhere around $46K, at least in my state, and this can be slightly better or even slightly worse depending on the state and college that you work at. Now this sounds kind of almost sort of reasonable before you take into account most advising positions require a master's degree. Now, I know most positions state you only need a bachelor's, but a quick Google search once again will quickly tell you that that is a lie. And that if you are interested in working in advising, you're going to need to pay the big bucks and go get that master's degree. On top of that, as I continue to research this career, I guess, I learned that it's normally about 2 advisors for every 1,000 plus students. So that means the person, the man or the woman that is in charge of your entire future and has thousands of dollars at your fingertips if you don't know what's going on, has 500 to sometimes even thousands of other students that they have to see and take care of every single semester. And so then I thought about my old buddy that I met back at the econ department, and I kind of realized that, after thousands of dollars of debt and all of that all those student loans and all of that schooling needed to go out and get a master's degree, it's no wonder why nobody qualified wants to work for this job where you're getting paid pennies and you're completely overloaded on bullshit administrative tasks and you have thousands of students that you're overlooking and you're supposed to be helping. That's before we take into account the emotional burden of parents and students taking out their academic failures and their emotions on a guy that is getting paid $40,000 a year. It's kind of hard to blame these people when you as a student, because when you come into college, you're grown. You need to have some responsibility about your future. You can't completely blame these people when you're putting all of your trust into this guy that is only a few years older than you in most cases and doesn't even get compensated correctly for it. When you, as an advisor, are so overloaded with work for a position that you are not inclined to even care about considering your pay, there is no way that you're going to be able to give functional, targeted advice to every single student. It is just not possible. And there are a million ways to fix this, but for some reason, nobody in higher education has ever done anything about it. And we kind of just accept the fact that all of our advisors are going to be useless and they just give us all terrible advice, and we're just supposed to live with that. And also, before I forget to mention this really wonderful, beautiful point, some schools require mandatory advising, which means even the students like myself, not to glaze, but even the students like myself that kind of had an idea of what was going on and didn't even need to see an advisor, where it was just a waste of everybody's time, some schools require you to make an appointment every single semester or every single year or whatever the time frame is. Regardless, the point is a lot of schools overburden their academic advisors on purpose almost by forcing students to go to these appointments where nobody is having fun, nobody is learning anything new, nobody is getting any valuable information, and half the time these people don't even have valuable information to give. There is no reason why we as in the people in higher education, I'm acting like I'm like the dean of student affairs and not just some guy that's taking a couple classes and talking into a mic. But I'm gonna use we because clearly I feel strongly about this. There's no reason why we as college students and people in higher education and academia cannot hire qualified advisors, pay them a little bit more, and hire some graduate student workers or even some fresh graduates to deal with the easy front desk administrative stuff, and let people whose job is to give qualified academic advice flourish in their own role, the role that they signed up for and the role that they're getting paid to do. Hopefully more than $40,000 a year. Just to recap a little bit about what we've talked about so far, this is a position where the employees are severely understaffed, significantly overqualified, have ginormous caseloads, are burdened with bullshit administrative tasks that have nothing to do with helping the student, and are oftentimes don't even give a shit about whatever it is that you're studying. And so that leads us to the natural question of what is it that as college students can we actually do as a solution? And as a college student and a grown-ass man or woman, whatever you might be, you have to be in control and knowledgeable about your own academic plan. I know, it sucks, it's stressful, but there is no other way, because these people are going to bullshit you around and give you the wrong advice because they could not be fucked to know any better. And so the way we achieve this kind of academic independence, so to speak, is to talk to the people who actually do care, which is other students in your class and in your major that actually have taken these classes and have an idea of what's going on and what your future career might look like. Talk to professors. It is their job to care. They got 10 years of schooling in this. I'm pretty sure they have a good idea of what it is that you as an individual might need if you just describe your situation even as loosely as possible. Go visit in office hours. They'd love to see you. It's their actual job, and they get paid a lot better. Maybe not as much as they should for 10 years of schooling, but they get paid a lot better than, the guy in the office that just doesn't give a shit. And then the last person that probably cares most about your academic future is yourself. And it's important to do things like research. I know, shocker, but if you have an idea about what it is that you want and the kind of classes that are capable and suitable for you, given your academic talent and needs and the things that you can kind of handle as a student, that is a superpower. That puts you ahead of probably 60% of students that kind of just fuck it, we ball their way all the way through college, So I think it's important that you as an individual, do a Reddit search, man, hit up Rate My Professor. Actually, don't do that. It's a shitty website, but you know what I mean. You have to be in charge of your own academic freedom. And remember, as much as you might want to go on r/college rant and, shit talk the advisor that gave you horrible advice and ruined your life for an entire semester or maybe even longer, remember that it's not even that their fault that they're useless in most cases. It's actually the people above them that are even more useless and cruel than they are. And also your fault. Do some research. That's what we just talked about. You're not blameless in this. But, yeah, just to kind of finish this off here, I'm going to go ahead and read a social media comment from, I don't know why I said that. It's a Reddit comment. I feel like I've referenced Reddit so much in this video. I feel like I've endlessly referenced a website that I don't even use, and that's kind of like ruining my credibility and making me look weird. So I use the word social media. But I'm going to read a Reddit comment from an actual academic advisor that can shed a little bit of insight onto their situation and hopefully give you an idea of what it is that they actually go through. This person shares, "I'm an academic advisor who also advises psychology students, but at a research university with something like 30,000 students. I have a caseload of a little under 400 students, which is on the lower end, as we talked about earlier. I work on a team and split psych with 3 other advisors. We do not book that far in advance unless it's around registration. There has been a neoliberal shift in higher education over the past 10 to 15 years. People treat interactions with advisors as transactional, i.e., I'm paying for school so I will get what I paid for. Do what I tell you to do. I actually noticed it was particularly bad when I was working for an online-only school where the students were older than 25. Sometimes adult learners are the advocates for themselves, but are also wildly misinformed about what advisors do and how university policy works. Yes, that grade will be on your transcript. No, I cannot waive your grade." I felt like I was alone in feeling this demanding presence from students. So I've looked on other subs and even Google search before. Students feel very entitled to our time, and they don't understand why we feel very overwrought when we repeat ourselves and get upset when they don't do what we ask them to do. Don't get me wrong, we're here for them, but our jobs are more complex than they know. They have no idea we're juggling heavy caseloads, tedious and daunting administrative tasks, and a crap load of internal communications about said task. I thought this was interesting to just kind of get an idea about the other side. Like I said, I've only ever been a student, and also I've only had neutral to negative interactions with college advisors. But I think, of course, it is important that we view things from both lenses. There's certainly some things in there that I disagreed with and I thought was a little bit weird. But with that being said, I do think that this is a very insightful comment, and I think that this person raises a lot of the key issues in academic advising, and a lot of the issues that we talked about in this video. So, like I said, man, nobody out there is going to bat for you except for yourself. It really sucks, but you cannot feel entitled to these people's times because they don't have time to give you, and they don't care, and they're underpaid. And now I feel like I'm making excuses for them, when in reality, a lot of advisors really do just suck. I'm repeating myself a lot, and I'm making it seem like this is very much so like an us versus them type of thing. But in reality, like with any job, there's going to be good advisors and there's going to be bad advisors. I'm sure there are people who have had lovely experiences with their advisors that are so happy to help. But those people get shifted out so quickly because they realize they're being undercompensated and they go on to bigger and better things. So the people that are left are going to be the people that suck. So at the end of the day, it's up to you. You have to do what's best for you as a student, and you have to get that in your head that nobody else is responsible for that. But yeah, I think that should wrap us up. I hope you guys enjoyed my little rant. This is actually the first video that I ever recorded, so I'm just gonna go on a little outro here. Maybe this is the part where I'm supposed to say like and subscribe and all that stuff, but no, really. I've spent the last couple of years really enjoying my college experience, and as I stated multiple times throughout this video, it's something I'm passionate about. So I think I'm going to dedicate this channel to kind of resources to help other college students. And you know, who knows? Maybe I can fill the void that your terrible advisor left in your heart whenever they weren't able to tell you which classes that you were supposed to take to graduate on time. But yeah, if you did enjoy the video, stick around. Leave a comment. Give me some feedback. Tell me what I did good. Tell me what I did wrong. Does the audio suck? Does the background suck? I'm recording this at night in like my apartment, like common space. I thought it was like a pretty nice background, but you know, that's not what you're here for. I might even cut this out. I have no idea. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Peace.